Hey, what's up everybody? It is Josh Thomas here from the BitBlock. Welcome to my top 15 greatest Nintendo Gamecube games of all time. So, yeah, anytime you do one of these, I just hit my hand on that and that actually hurt. Anytime you do one of these top 10, top 15, top whatever lists, you're always gonna have somebody in the comments section that's like, what? Why isn't Super Smash Bros. Melee at the #1 position? Here's why Josh is the worst thing in the world. And you know, so what I'm getting at here is, this is the worst intro ever, but it's subjective. This is my own personal opinion, you know? Everybody can have a different opinion. In fact, leave a comment below. Let me know what your top 15 GameCube games are. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right in to my list for the top 15 greatest GameCube games of all time. At number 15, I chose Star Fox Assault. Now this game to me is all about the multiplayer, and I gotta tell you, I have had years and years of fun multiplayer experiences with this game. So you get to play as Star Fox and friends, and you run around in these pretty well-built levels, and there's quite a few of them. They're all reminiscent of areas you would have seen in the Star Fox universe, but they feel fresh and original, and the goal is to just kind of beat the crap out of your friends. It's, you know, kind of like a shooter, but obviously in third person. There is a crazy amount of weapons that you can unlock for this multiplayer mode. A lot of them are pretty cool. There's like barrels that shoot up a bunch of grenades into the air like fireworks and they explode. There's snipers, there's stuff like automatic weapons, everything you'd assume. There's just a great variety of weaponry. And not only can you run around on foot, but you can also jump into the R-Wing or the Wolfen and fly around. And naturally, you can go into the very impressive Landmaster tank. So it's got this great sense of 3 ways to play at the same time when you're battling each other. You can be on foot, you can be in the tank, or you can be up in the air. I love how if you're playing like on a team with a friend, you could be on the wing of the R-Wing sniping your friends below, and then while one of your other friends is flying the R-Wing. It's just, this is a really, really underrated multiplayer experience from Nintendo, and it's cool because, as I mentioned, you can play as all the Star Fox characters, and they have different ways of playing. Like if you pick, for example, Crystal, you get 2 shields, 2 barriers to protect you from fire, whereas all the other characters would start with 1. Slippy is a much better jumper, but maybe he's a little bit more slow. He's also much better at controlling the Landmaster. So, and Falco is much better at controlling the R-Wing in the sky. And they have different health bars. It's such a fun multiplayer experience. I do have to say, obviously, the single player stuff is not the greatest, but it's actually not that bad. Some of the on-foot missions are a little bit bland and not that creative, but there is a decent amount of missions in this game where you're in the R-Wing and it feels like classic Star Fox. And to be honest with you, after Star Fox Zero, I think any Star Fox game where you can control the game is automatically gonna be decently fun. So Star Fox Assault, it's a fun multiplayer game. If you haven't played this, check it out. At number 14, I chose Super Smash Bros. Melee. Now, before you leave a bunch of angry comments wondering why this isn't in like the top 3, I gotta say, I really love Melee, and I have so many fun memories playing this with my cousins, but I kind of feel like the game hasn't aged that well. And you might be thinking, well, that's not fair, you should judge these based on what they were like when they came out. I'm kind of judging these games based on the way I feel about them today. And today, I'd rather just play Smash 4 or even Brawl, to be totally honest with you. But I gotta say, Melee was so important in the Super Smash Bros. Series. It really took something that was a relatively simple idea, Smash 64, and transformed it into being about so much more. It controlled so much better. It looked so much better. There were so many more characters, and also you had these extra little modes like Race to the Finish and you know, the Break the Targets, and I loved how each character has their own break the targets game, whereas that's something I don't think we even have seen since then. But it's just, and the level design, the stages, there was so much more, and they were so much more clever, and it was referencing all these great past Mario games with the trophies and all the other collectibles, and the soundtrack was so good. Melee will forever be one of my favorite multiplayer Nintendo games, even if, to be totally honest with you, I kind of feel like it's been outdone with the newer Smash games. But it's still amazing. Number 13, Mario Party 6. Now, maybe the Mario Party series is not everybody's cup of tea, but I gotta tell you, Ever since I was very young, back in the N64 days, I have had such a passion for the Mario Party series. This is like one of the most fun video game franchises to me, and Mario Party 6 is one of the most clever. You see, what makes Mario Party 6 better than all the other Mario Parties in my opinion, even though I do love most of them, is that Mario Party 6 has this really neat day and night mechanic. You see, as you're playing on a game board, they're all really well designed by the way, after so many turns, I believe it's 3, after 3 turns, the game board will switch to being no longer day, but nighttime. And in the night and the day, different things happen on the game boards, so it always kind of keeps you involved and always keeps you guessing of what's gonna happen next. And it just adds this really great layer of interesting depth in a way. Also worth noting that day and night mechanic is related to the mini-games as well. So if you're playing a game board and it's day, you'll play a mini-game during the day, and if it's night, you'll play that mini-game during a night setting, and a lot of the times, the mini-games will even play differently during the day and at night, which I think is just so much extra effort when you consider that they were pumping these Mario Party games out one a year. So this one just was really fresh, and it had a new gimmick that was very inventive, and it worked very well. Mario Party 6 also introduced the legendary microphone peripheral for the GameCube, and even though the microphone mini-games are really nothing too exciting, it was a totally free accessory that came with the game for $50, and it was completely optional as well. I remember back in the day, I thought it was just kind of fun to have some new little toy to mess around with. I never thought it was great, but unlike new Mario Party games, which force the gimmick upon you, Mario Party 6 was like, hey, here's the little mic thing we were messing around with, have fun with it or not, whatever. We've got a whole nother amazing game for you to enjoy. So yeah, Mario Party 6, great mini games, love the day and night mechanic, little microphone was kind of cute, and yeah, this is just my favorite Mario Party game. It's so great. Number 12, F-Zero GX. Oh my gosh, this game is like the gem, the perfection of the F-Zero franchise. We haven't had an F-Zero game for a long time, but I gotta be honest with you, this game really stands the test of time. It still looks pretty, and it's incredibly fast. It gives you that really fun, edgy, fast-paced racing action you would want from an F-Zero game. And it just has so much character to it as well. That's the weird thing, this game's got like 30 characters in it, all with unique crafts or vehicles that they drive in. But I think what stands out the most for me with F-Zero GX, other than the fantastic soundtrack, the great characters, and the visuals that still look good today, is the story mode. And in fact, this game just has tons of different modes, but the story mode is essentially like a mission mode where you get these fully rendered cutscenes where we get to learn about the characters and they challenge Captain Falcon in different ways, and you have to play these special missions and earn tickets so that you can progress onward. And there's just a story in a racing game from Nintendo, and it just feels so fun and unique. And by the way, this game is tough as nails. This, especially the story mode, when you keep going and you get further and further, you're definitely gonna you feel very accomplished when you beat this game, and I think that's something that's very unique. I think that's the best way to describe F-Zero GX. It's so much fun, but it's also very unique, and I'd love to see Mario Kart kind of do this thing with the story mode and have a bunch of different modes. It's got time trials, it's got the story mode, and you can customize vehicles in this game, which is something that was, you know, way before its time. Mario Kart's doing that now, but F-Zero GX was doing it all the way back in the like 2000s, the earlier 2000s, so yeah, this is a pretty fancy game. At number 11, I picked Kirby Air Ride. Oh man, this is like one of the most underrated games, I think, on the Nintendo Gamecube. In fact, maybe Nintendo's entire library. So Kirby Air Ride is also a game that I still play frequently with friends to this day. It's one of our go-to games when we get together. It's a racing game starring Kirby, and there are basically 3 modes in this game. You've got your basic racing where you and your friends can play via split screen, and it's fun. It's a little bit different than Mario Kart because you're like on hovercrafts, you're on stars that are hovering around, and as you would expect with Kirby, you can suck up enemies that are running around on the racetracks, and that will give you their powers. So it's like a unique twist on how you get a power up in a Mario Kart game. Now you just suck up whatever's running around on the course, so it's really cool. It's got this really fun, unique vibe to it. It's not the greatest racing, but I think it's pretty fun. The other mode that I really enjoy is the top-down racing mode. Essentially, you get to see the whole racetrack. It's this adorable, cool little stylized top-down perspective on a racetrack, and you and your buddies are all flying around on it. You get a bunch of power-ups to mess with each other. It's really unique. Again, there's just so much uniqueness in Kirby Air Ride, but I really love the top-down mode. And then finally, the big mama, the greatest mode in this entire game is the city trial mode. City trial mode is this neat city that's got all sorts of sites for you to see and mess around with, different locations, and you have a certain amount of time to just basically drive around this city, you and your buddies. You can mess with each other, actually literally destroy their vehicle and really piss them off, which is kind of what I generally like to do because it's fun to be evil. You collect a bunch of power-ups that will increase the way your vehicle is going to control. You can also jump off of your standard vehicle, or whatever vehicle you might be on, and then go run over to another one that appeared somewhere in the city. So it's got this basic vibe of, hey, here's 5 minutes, 7 minutes, run around, get a bunch of power-ups to build up your craft and mess with your friends, and then at the end of that time limit, you're all going to be challenged to a certain mission. So you might be taking on King Dedede, or it might be a death match between you and your friends to see who can get the most kills, or maybe you have to see who can get the most kills of enemies. It's just a big variety. One of them is like you have to basically crash into a big target board for points, and so you might want to, make sure that you have a good glider vehicle for that. There's also events that happen in City Trial mode where all of a sudden maybe it'll be foggy, maybe Dynablade will appear, maybe there will be random fires that burst out. It's open world Kirby racing where you power up your vehicle and brace yourself for an upcoming challenge. It's so fun. It never gets old for me. I'd love to see this with like online play or something in like a new reboot of Kirby Air Ride. I think I've said enough about Kirby Air Ride, but I think that just goes to show how much I want to talk about this game. It's amazing. I love this. If you're a Kirby fan, what are you doing? Play yourself some Kirby Air Ride. At number 10, I chose Mario Kart Double Dash. This game is amazing. It is my favorite Mario Kart game of all time. In fact, Andre from GameXplain agrees, and Andre's never been wrong. Well, except for all those times he's been wrong. Anyways, this game is the most creative Mario Kart game ever. Obviously, it's cool because you get to have 2 characters per kart, which is really fun in single player because you get to have different items to work with, but it's also obviously really fun when you're playing with a friend who's in charge of the items, or maybe your friend's in charge of driving, and switching back and forth and just sharing those duties while you're racing around is really fun. It's surprisingly, it works very well and it's refreshing, and yeah, it's super awesome. It's a new idea that Nintendo put into a game that actually works, which is sort of rare nowadays. I also love the fact that, like I said a little bit earlier, characters actually have their own specific special items that only they can get. I think this adds a lot of great strategy to the game. Maybe you want to play as Mario so you can have the fireballs, and maybe Donkey Kong so that you can use the big giant banana. Ooh, I really love the big giant banana, by the way, because it's like this nice big roadblock. It's got an angry face too. So yeah, we've got the 2 people per kart. We've got the wackier karts. Before it was just go-karts. Now it's these cool wacky go-karts that are designed to look like the characters. We've got the special items for all the characters. It's great. What more could you want? How about a battle mode? What's that? Yeah, a battle mode. Believe it or not, Mario Kart used to have a little thing called a battle mode. In Double Dash's battle mode, you can play 3 different ways. You got your typical balloon battle, which is really fun, where everybody has 3 balloons. When they're gone, you're out. And then you also can play Bob-omb Blast, which is just this insane mess of colorful explosions. And it's just everybody uses bob-ombs, and it's so crazy to get a whole bunch of them and just start throwing them all over the place. And then, of course, there is Shine Thief. Shine Thief is all about grabbing the Shine Sprite and running away, driving away from your friends so that they can't hit you and steal it from you. And it's basically whoever has the shine when the time runs out is the winner. And it's crazy. It gets really hectic. So imagine that. 3 ways to battle in the battle mode. You've got some great, crazy courses, crazier than ever before. You've got all these awesome characters that have special items, which gives you a lot of strategy as far as who you want to pick. And you've got the really cool gimmick of having 2 characters per kart. This game is amazing. I don't know if they're ever going to top this Mario Kart. I'd sure like to see it happen, but yeah, this was just this amazing whirlwind of creativity that actually worked. At number 9, I chose Metroid Prime. So Metroid Prime is an interesting game for me because, as weird as this sounds, it was kind of the first realistic, more sophisticated adult video game that I ever played. Again, I know that sounds weird, but there was just something so interesting about it to me. It looked so different, it looked very atmospherical, and I wanted to give it a try. And when I did, I was blown away by how much fun and how unique it was, especially coming from somebody who traditionally only played kind of cartoony style games. I think what made Metroid Prime so great is that it wasn't afraid to be different. It wasn't a first-person shooter. It's not a first-person shooter. It's all about the sense of atmosphere. It's about being alone in these weird alien planets, about looking at all the little intricate details in a space station. And the gameplay is very addictive and very rewarding. It feels like you're encouraged to explore, and it's such a... I mean, if there's ever an argument for video games being art, I think you could probably bring up Metroid Prime. This game is more than a video game to me. It is just so well built, and Retro Studios just knocked this out of the park. I cannot recommend Metroid Prime enough. It's a legendary game from Nintendo and Retro Studios. Rolling in at number 8, The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventures. This game is actually, fun fact, my second favorite Zelda game of all time. Oh my goodness. The multiplayer experience that you get when you collect a few friends together and you play this with your Game Boy Advances and the TV screen, it's just so much fun. This is the most unique multiplayer that I have probably ever played in video games. It's this type of thing where you're working together. One of you will go inside of a house to see what's going on in there, and the other ones can go explore outside or maybe jump into a cave or a hole they found. There's this amazing sense of asymmetric gameplay going on and really talking to each other and trying to solve all these mysteries. It is very much a Zelda game too. It's not like some sort of dumbed down experience. I love the art style as well. Top-down Zelda games are super fun, and I'd love to see one like on a home console like this. A sequel to Four Swords Adventures on the NX? Oh my god, that would be incredible. So yeah, if you're looking for the greatest multiplayer Zelda game ever, this is one to check out. I'm gonna go even further than that. This is just one of the best multiplayer games that I have ever experienced. It's so good. And then, hey, you know what? Maybe you're a little tired of working together as a team? Well, you can always jump into the shadow battle mode and destroy each other. It's this fun, just battle arena setting, and there's a lot of different items to play with, and it's so fun. This game is so underappreciated, I think. It's an amazing experience for Zelda fans, and if you wanted to play it by yourself, it still works just as a good Zelda experience. It's everything you would want it to be, I think. Number 7, Chibi-Robo. So as many of you know, I'm kind of a big fan of all of the games that Skip has made, and of course, I love me some Chibi-Robo. This game is so charming, it's so unique, and it's so different from anything else you're gonna find from Nintendo. I love the idea of playing as this little cute mini bite-sized robot whose literal goal is to make people happy. You do that by running around and scrubbing up stains and cleaning up trash, which might sound like a really boring video game, but it's actually really addictive and fun. And of course, there's a lot more to it than that. Chibi-Robo, much like a lot of Skip's games, are actually about interacting with characters and progressing a story, and it is so unique and charming and fun, and my goodness, the characters in this game are wackier and crazier and more random than probably anything you're really gonna find in a Nintendo game. Chibi-Robo is a classic GameCube title, and I gotta say, I'm kind of more than a little bit sad that we really only got one actual Chibi-Robo game like this. Nintendo kind of killed Chibi-Robo recently, but man, I'm still holding out hope that one day we will get a true sequel to this game, because it is, it's wonderful. Also, the music is really different and charming, and I can't say enough good things about Chibi-Robo. At number 6, I picked The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Oh man, this game is... Well, first of all, it's my favorite Zelda game of all time. This is it right here, #1 Zelda game as far as I'm concerned. It stood the test of time more than any other Zelda game, I feel. As far as the visuals still look fantastic to this day, and I think the gameplay and the setting is still super unique compared to any other Zelda game. As many of you know, I actually prefer a more cartoony, fun art style to games, and so the second I saw this, I was actually instantly in love with it. I was definitely not one of those people who was complaining that Nintendo added this unique cel shading art style to the game. It's actually one of the things that made me want to play it. And then, I'm sure many of you know, I am quite the nautical fella, and so just having this summer ocean vibe to the entire game, with all of these islands to explore, I mean, this is right up my alley, and I can play this literally until the day I die and never get tired of it. I think that it's this great balance of having a bunch of new, fresh ideas while at the same time giving us the Zelda game that we always want. There is so much to do in the ocean as well. A lot of people were like, oh, the ocean doesn't have anything going on. False. Every little section of that ocean on your chart has something to see. And there was definitely, and is this definite feeling of adventure and exploration, and I just love charting every little island, every little thing to see on that ocean, and the dungeons, while maybe not as many as other games, are very memorable, and I loved literally every single dungeon in this game. The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty much as good as Zelda has ever been up until this point. At number 5, I chose the scariest Nintendo game ever. Of course, I'm talking about Animal Crossing Amiibo Fest. No, Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion. Oh my gosh, as many of you know, Halloween is my favorite time of the year. That season, the season of Halloween, is just so wonderful. There's such a cool, creative spirit in the air, and Luigi's Mansion manages to perfectly capture what it is to be Halloween. In fact, in many ways, I think Luigi's Mansion seems very, very inspired by Disney's Haunted Mansion attraction. I love exploring all the different mansions and solving all these puzzles throughout the entire game. And sure, it's the type of game that you could probably beat in 6 or 7 hours, but I really think that's the point, and oddly enough, I think that's part of its charm. When I first played Luigi's Mansion, I actually started at about 11 p.m. on an October night. And then, as I played, I literally stayed up all night to play it, and I beat it right as the sun started to rise, which was such a perfect way to play Luigi's Mansion, because actually, as many of you might know, Luigi's Mansion is supposed to take place all of it over one night. So it's just a cool game. I love this. It's something that I think a lot of people might not appreciate it because it's not long, there's not platforming, and there's not a lot of variety to the themes because, of course, it's all haunted. But I think those are all reasons I love it. I love all the ghosts, too. The sequel to Luigi's Mansion is, in my opinion, not very good, and one of the reasons is the ghosts suck in Dark Moon. There's a good, nice little pun for you there. But the ghosts in the original Luigi's Mansion look like Mario characters. They have hair, they have accessories, they look like characters from the Mario universe, but they're dead, spooky ghosts, and they all have backstories and themes to the rooms where you meet them. It's such a blast to play this game. I play it every year around Halloween, sometimes even multiple times. It still looks fantastic. The game has some very, very impressive particle effects that even stand the test of time today, and the lighting looks great. Luigi has more personality than ever before. I mean, he's got the little, Mario. It really gave that personality of a little scaredy cat, but somehow is brave because he does the things anyway. I don't want to stop talking about Luigi's Mansion, but I guess all I can say is, yeah, this is one that will forever stand out as being one of the most unique, fun Nintendo games. Number 4, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. This game is legendary. Not only one of the best GameCube games, but hands down one of the best Nintendo games. And I know I've said that a few times on this list, but hey, the GameCube's pretty amazing. So Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, why is this good? Oh my gosh, let me count the ways. First of all, I love the art style, looks really cool, and I love the fact that in this game, pretty much for the first time, they started to really play with the idea of paper. Mario can turn into a paper boat, a paper airplane, you can roll up into a little paper tube, you can turn on your side and fit into narrow cracks. So I love the idea that they really started to say, hey, let's do some fun paper things with the gameplay. And you know, unlike newer Paper Mario games, they did the fun papery things without losing the RPG elements. Believe it or not, you can actually do both. I love all the partners in this game as well. They have so much personality, and you know, obviously you encounter them in certain chapters, so it really feels like the chapter kind of belongs to that character, and so it just makes the chapter seem that much more interesting, you know, the location and the world and everything that goes on there. And the partners are just charming and fun, and they're such a big part of what makes Paper Mario such an enjoyable series. I don't think there's a single chapter here that I wasn't constantly blown away with and in love. just with everything about it. You know, you go to Glitzville, and that's this floating platform town in the sky where all these crazy wrestling matches go on, and there's a weird conspiracy going on there where wrestlers are starting to show up missing. And then of course there's stuff like the Twilight Town, where everything is weird and eerie and all the residents are turning into pigs, and even something as simple as the opening meadow area is so fun and charming because you have Hooktail, like there's this dragon that lives in a castle in the distance and it's ominous, and he's, you know, eating up people from the town, and just, oh man. And the Boggly Woods. Boggly Woods is like one of the most amazingly peaceful, atmospherical places in any Paper Mario game. This game, it's so, like, I'm playing it again now because I just wanted to, and I'm playing through the whole thing, and I'm just really taken it back by how good this truly is. I know a lot of people talk about how, oh, Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door is the greatest Paper Mario game, and sometimes when people talk up a game, it's usually like not necessarily true, but this game deserves all of the praise that it gets, and oh my god, I would give almost anything to get an actual sequel to the Thousand Year Door. This game delivers big time. I mean, it's just one of the most charming Nintendo games ever. I definitely need to also point out that the music in this game is so magical that I actually get somewhat emotional from certain tracks. Like hearing that Rogue Port music, it really does something to me. It's like, it fills me with nostalgia, it fills me with just pure joy. I know it sounds cheesy, but like the soundtrack in this game, the music, actually kind of gets me emotional, which is weird. Number 3, Animal Crossing. Now, I'm sure many of you know, because I don't really try hard to keep it a secret, I love me some Animal Crossing, so naturally it had to be very high up on my list. I remember the first time I played Animal Crossing, I didn't really love it. In fact, it didn't click with me instantly. It took about a couple days before I started to realize what this game was about. And I think that's a testament to how this game is actually very different from anything else you would have played before. It's this life simulator game that has something new happening every single day. You get to celebrate holidays when they actually happen in real life, and it rains, some days it's sunny, some days it's cloudy. It's just something new every day, and it was so addictive, and it still is to this day. And it's so cool to see how Animal Crossing had these humble beginnings on the GameCube, and it eventually became one of Nintendo's most popular, top-selling franchises, selling even more than stuff like Metroid and actually The Legend of Zelda at this point. The original GameCube game has such a certain particular charm to it. I love the way it looks. I think that this art style is the most unique the series has ever looked, and I just love all the crazy characters and people that move into your village, and when it was always so exciting to see, like, if Wendell or Sahara was in town and you could get some new wallpaper or some new flooring. It's just such a charming game. I mean, how can you not love the original Animal Crossing on GameCube? It's just fantastic. And also it has NES games that you can get, which is something that I think a lot of people look back on very fondly. It's the origins of one of Nintendo's greatest franchises, and there are so many fun things to do, so unique. Oh my god, I love Animal Crossing. At number 2, I picked Super Mario Sunshine because I feel this is the greatest 3D Mario game ever. As I've already mentioned in this list, I am a man who loves summertime and tropical weather, and I'm also somebody who obviously loves Mario, so combining those two things makes for a pretty amazing experience in my opinion. Mario Sunshine takes everything that we loved about the gameplay in Super Mario 64, and it gives it a totally improved visual style and much tighter controls. It also lets us play around with Flood, who in my opinion is one of the best Mario power-ups ever. There's so many different nozzles that you can attach to Flood, so you can fly around on the turbo nozzle through the water, you can blast off into the sky with the rocket nozzle, and of course you also have the hover nozzle, which makes platforming pretty fun and interesting. I think what I love about Sunshine so much is that it takes one concept, the tropical setting, and it makes so many different worlds out of it, all of which have a very distinct, different feel, but they all share that one thing in common, that they are summer themed. So Bianco Hills, Pina Park, Noki Bay, all of these settings are so different from one another, and I think it's just so much fun. It's funny because actually Super Mario Sunshine was meant to be an even bigger game, but due to time restraints, they had to kind of wrap it up early, and even being a game that is in a way unfinished, it still manages to just be so fantastic. This is one of the most hyped games that I've ever experienced. I had a calendar. I remember counting down the days until Super Mario Sunshine released. And that glorious morning when I finally got to play it was just something I'll always remember. This game is the essence of fun, and I think that's exactly what you want out of a 3D Mario game. Obviously, there are sections in this game where you have to collect a shine sprite, and you have to do it without using FLUDD, and those are pretty difficult. So yeah, it's got this great level of difficulty, but at the same time, anybody can pick up and play it. It's got this great tropical setting, yet at the same time, it's not overdone to where it just feels like it's repeating itself, and I love FLUDD. This game is just the best Mario has ever been, in my opinion. And most importantly, the #1 GameCube game of all time is, as you can see, Pikmin 2. Pikmin 2, in my opinion, is literally the greatest sequel that Nintendo has ever made. It improves upon the original game in every way. We've got worlds that are more beautiful and bigger and more interesting to explore. We've got weirder characters, lots of weird, confusing, adorable, scary creatures are featured in this game, even more so than the original. And we also have the option of playing around with a second captain. We've got, Louie and Olimar, and I really like how the game started to tell a little bit about Olimar's home planet. We learned about Hocotate and where Olimar works, and we see his boss, and we even get to see his children and his wife through a bunch of little messages that pop up. It really expanded that world and the characters of the Pikmin universe. And we've also got an incredibly fun challenge mode that you can play by yourself, or even better, you can play cooperatively with a friend or a family member. And it's so much fun to replay the challenges again and again and try to get a perfect score, which is by no way an easy thing to do. And then, naturally, we've got the battle mode. Playing Pikmin against another player is something that I don't know if anybody ever would have expected it to be as fun and as addictive as it is, but I have logged more hours in the battle mode in this game than probably any other multiplayer experience on a Nintendo console. It's been that great for me. I can't say enough good things about this game. Like I said, I love how it's really weird and it's so unique and it's gorgeous and it's so much fun how all of the sections of the planet are themed on different seasons. So you have the spring, the summer, the autumn, and the winter, and I think that really kept you interested in the game. I love all the new creatures, I love the new characters, I love the new modes. This game is just jam-packed with hours and hours and hours of fun gameplay. I love that they didn't just make a cookie-cutter sequel. They thought, hey, what are some things we could do with the Pikmin universe that we would have never thought of doing before? And adding multiplayer, I think, was such a huge component to the Pikmin 2 legacy, if you will, because after Pikmin 2, Pikmin 3, of course, continued to be multiplayer, and God willing, hopefully Pikmin 4 will have even more amazing multiplayer fun. Pikmin 2 is the best gosh darn GameCube game of all time. Disagree with me? I will fight you to the death in the battle mode in this game. Well, I hope you guys have had fun here checking out my list of the top 15 greatest Nintendo GameCube games ever. It's been a fun list to compile. I got to play a whole bunch of GameCube games over like the course of 2 days. I actually play a lot of these still anyways, but this was a fun video to do. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, leave a comment below. Let me know what your top GameCube games are. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.